I'll see your resume. You may be a great candidate. Then I'll find that you were doing this or fighting the police or whatever it was. I'll put that resume on the left into the garbage because I know I can find someone else just as good as you, of which there are tens of thousands of candidates, that didn't participate in this. You are trashing your future. It's being shot on 1080p and 4K video and from surveillance cameras with extremely high resolution in low light conditions, including retinal scanning. This is what's happened with AI.
Well, those are the types of threats student protesters were met with after they were horrified to learn of the ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip carried out by the Israeli military. And not only did they face those threats from the business community, which could have totally destroyed their futures post-college, international students who took part would be labeled as terrorists by our own federal government and have their student visas revoked. Now, I give you that background because the State Department has announced that they've revoked student visas for more than 6,000 international students, claiming that foreign students who had their visas revoked either broke the law in some way or were found to be supporters of terrorism. So this is based on exclusive reporting over at the BBC. They wanted to understand which students are having their visas revoked, how many international students have had their visas revoked, and here's what they've learned. So of the 6,000 visas that were revoked, the State Department alleges that 4,000 were due to the student visitors essentially breaking laws. The agency said that the vast majority of the violations were assault, driving under the influence, burglary, and support for terrorism. So again, we know that 4,000, according to the State Department, were for individuals who allegedly broke the law. Another 200 to 300 visas were revoked due to terrorism done under INA 3B, which refers to code that defines terrorist activity broadly as acts that endanger human life or violate US law. Really? We had 300 international students in the country that were engaged in support for terrorism that put our lives in jeopardy. You want to talk about the Israeli official who got let go after getting caught in a sting operation trying to have sex with a 15-year-old kid? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, look, guys, this is supporters of Israel saying, we own you. If you criticize Israel, we will make sure that you never work. I mean, Kevin O'Leary was super clear, right? We are going to do a terror campaign in America. If you criticize Israel for slaughtering children, we're going to put you on a blacklist of good people we'll never hire because we're all disgusting pigs who love genocide. That's Kevin O'Leary's list. That's Bill Ackman's list. We can get back to him in a minute. So now, on top of that, you have maimed Palestinian children who we paid to maim, right? And they barely survived, and they desperately need medical attention. But Laura Loomer said we should send them back. So let's invent reasons to send them back. Let's call people terrorists, because you know what? The real Israel has killed 60 times the number of civilians Hamas has. They're obviously a much worse terrorist organization. It's not even close. They've killed more than 500 times the number of children. They're disgusting terrorists in that government. But let's work for them. And if you criticize them or you've been maimed by them, we're gonna call you the terrorist. It's just truth on its head. It's George Orwell, 1984 defined. We're living in 1984.
So while the State Department did not specify what they meant by support for terrorism.
Of course they didn't. They meant Palestinian, Arab, or Muslim. Or by the way, Christian Palestinians.
As we all know, the Trump administration has targeted some students who have protested in support of Palestine, which really, really ruffles the feathers of Benjamin Netanyahu and other figures within the Israeli
government. And Kevin O'Leary and Bill Ackman and American businessmen who will create blacklists of decent, moral people who they'll never hire because they don't want anybody moral working for them. I mean, if they're gonna go rob you on Wall Street, they don't want you to have any morals. So there's a little bit of logic actually to their lists.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of logic, but we have a constitution. Our constitution protects everyone within our borders, including students who are visa holders. So the idea that their political speech should be punished because it hurts the feelings of members of the business community or members of the Israeli government is pretty sick. Now, look, I would like further clarification from the State Department because, they say that they've revoked 6,000 visas, 4,000 were for individuals who broke the law. I have no problem with people having their visas revoked if they broke the law. Okay, but that leaves another 2,000, and of those 2,000, 300 had their visas revoked due to support for terrorism, which I don't believe at all. What about the rest? So there's a lack of transparency here, and using student visas or revoking student visas as a form of punishment for political speech is a huge problem, especially if that's being directed by a foreign country. And again, we don't have enough clarity here. They gave the BBC some information. By the way, let's note that the BBC is an international news organization. I find it hilarious that American organizations haven't dug into this story to find the more granular details about the student visas being revoked. Now, Trump halted scheduling visa appointments for international students earlier this year, but he has reinstated the policy allowing for these student visas to be, for the applications to be looked into and allow for international students to come into the country. But it would require enhanced screening, including making any private social media accounts public, so the State Department can, read through it to make sure there's no support for the Palestinian people and nothing but support for Israel. They said that they would search for any indications of hostility toward the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles of the United States. State Department officers were also instructed to screen for those who advocate for, aid, or support designated foreign terrorists and other threats to national security, or who perpetuate unlawful anti-Semitic harassment or violence. And as we know, I mean, the simplest things are considered anti-Semitic in this country. Things like denouncing genocide, for instance, or having a corner store in New York City that's called the Gaza Convenience Store. I heard that a lot of people in New York City, Jewish New Yorkers, were very offended by that and they felt unsafe. I don't know what to say. Like, how are you gonna complain about feeling unsafe when you simply see the name of a corner store and it contains Gaza in it, when the country you support is bombing, maiming, and slaughtering children? Like, how tone deaf can people be? Anyway, that's the final thing I have to say about this story, but it's just sick.
Yeah, so look, guys, there are no movements to expel people who criticize Finland or Peru or major powers like Germany, Japan, China, Russia. There's no ally, enemy, it doesn't matter. There's only one country you're not allowed to criticize in America. And funny enough, it's not America. It's a different country, it's Israel. And we should be allowed to criticize America. Of course, we have freedom of speech here. But do we really have freedom of speech? Because if we speak, but it's about Israel, well, that's it, get out of here. You arrest, deport, take away their diplomas, terrorize them, make sure they never get a job, haunt them for the rest of their lives for being decent, moral human beings, etc. So we don't really, First Amendment, they should put an asterisk on it, unless you criticize Israel. And by the way, now the modern day definitions of anti-Semitism, as made up by a bunch of Israeli supporters that are totally trash, they mean nothing at all, are loaded with any criticism of Israel as anti-Semites.
Yeah, any criticism of a political ideology, Zionism, is considered anti-Semitic. Well,
why?
Why? I mean,
Zionism is let me take your land.
Hold on.
Let me kill you and take your land.
So there are a ton of evangelical Christians who are Zionists. So let's stop pretending and let's stop conflating, okay, what Israel is doing with Judaism and Jews across the globe, because that conflation is intentional and I think defamatory to Jews across the globe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I'm allowed to say anything I want about Zionism because it's America. There is no goddamn asterisks, no matter how much they want it. And what's hilarious and a sick joke is people like Bill Ackman and Alex Karp, the head of Palantir. I saw him give this giant speech over the weekend, listened to an hour of him, okay, talking about we're for freedom of speech.
Right.
But on college campuses, this is Alex Karp. They should not be allowed to speak. Bill Ackman writing letters that I mentioned earlier to Harvard and other places. How dare you? Get back in line, okay? No one should be allowed to criticize Israel. I mean, sure, Jews. By the way, why aren't people allowed to criticize anyone they like? What kind of new rule is this? No, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Yep. There's one country that controls us. It's not a people. There's nobody asked a Jewish American randomly, hey, Dave, what would you like us to do with the country? That's not how it works, okay? It is a foreign government, and there are people inside this country who love that foreign government and way more than they love our country, way more, and say that we should all work for them. No, thank you. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.